This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather. Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And I know that this birthday boy is actually deceased, but he has had a major legacy on Canadian athletes. Call it national nepotism, whatever you may think, but this guy was huge for Canada. He decided in 1980, with one leg being amputated due to cancer, to run one leg across Canada, going east to west, to raise money and awareness for cancer research. Unfortunately, the spread of his cancer forced him to end his quest after 143 days, going from Newfoundland to Thunder Bay, Ontario, very close to the Manitoba border. His results have been a legacy. The national run named after him, first held in 1981, has had millions of participants in 60 countries, and it's the largest one-day fundraiser for cancer research. 850 million has been raised in her name as of September 2022. So anyway, Terry Fox was an icon and all that. So that's his birthday. Terry Fox was born July 28th, 1958 in Winnipeg. They would actually move to British Columbia by 1966. His parents were doting, and his father said that Terry was extremely competitive. Well, after all, he did have 3 siblings. Fox tried to join the school's basketball team, but failed because of his height. But his coach suggested that Fox try cross-country running, and it worked. He improved on his basketball skills, and by grade 12, he was the high school athlete of the year. He was unsure whether he wanted to go to the United States. Wanted to go to university, but Fox's mother said he should go to Simon Fraser University. So he studied kinesiology with the intention to be a phys ed teacher, and was also a member of the junior varsity basketball team. In November 1976, he was driving to his family home in Port Coquitlam when he was distracted by bridge construction and crashed into the back of a pickup truck. Fox injured his right knee and felt pain in December, but chose to ignore it. But the pain intensified by March 1977. He went to the hospital where he was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a form of cancer that often starts near the knees. Fox figured that his car accident weakened his knee so badly it left him vulnerable to the disease, but there was no connection. So thankfully, the accident was not part of it. So anyway, he was told that his right leg would have to be amputated. He would require chemotherapy, and that recent medical advances meant that he had a 50% chance of survival. Of course, this is 1977, by the way. Cancer rates, survival rates are up a lot nowadays, but anyway. The value of cancer research was huge because he actually had a 50-50 chance of survival, but it was 15% a couple years earlier. So anyhow, with the help of an artificial leg, he was walking 3 weeks after the amputation. And he had a positive outlook and all that. He endured lots of chemotherapy and all that. He was actually invited by Rick Hansen to try out for the wheelchair basketball team. So that's what he did. And he actually was part of the team that won the national championship in Edmonton, winning 3 national titles. So the night before his surgery, he actually was given an article about Dick Traum, who was the first amputee to actually complete the New York City Marathon. Of course, you know, the New York City Marathon is grueling. And by 1981, the organization actually had like I don't know how they say the category, but the disabled athletes category too. Regardless, the article inspired him. He embarked on a 14-month training program, saying he would try to compete in the marathon himself. He told that to his family. But in private, he wanted a more extensive plan. His hospital experiences made Fox angry at how little money was dedicated to cancer research, so he intended to run Life of Canada to increase cancer awareness. Of course, Fox would have to run with an unusual gait, as he was required to hop step on his good leg due to the extra time the springs in his artificial leg required to reset after each step. He found the training painful, as the additional pressure he put on his good leg and his stump led to bone bruises, blisters, and intense pain. So, anyway, yeah. He would compete in a 17-mile road race in Prince George. He was last place, but his effort was met with tears and applause from the other athletes. So, anyway, following the marathon, he revealed the plan to his family to run across the country. His mother discouraged him. However, she would later come to support the project. Anyway, Fox wanted to raise $1 million. Then it was up to $10 million, and then he sought to raise $1 for each of Canada's 24 million citizens. Regardless, it was a huge plan, and he made the conscious decision to go from Newfoundland to BC. Although his family thought that it would be better if he goes west to east, but no, it wouldn't. He actually sent a letter to the Canadian Cancer Society announcing his goal and appealed for funding and all that. The Cancer Society was skeptical, but agreed to support Fox once he had acquired sponsors and requested he get a medical certificate from a heart specialist. Fox actually was diagnosed with left ventricular hypertrophy and a large heart, commonly associated with athletes. Doctors did warn Fox of the potential risks, but they said his condition wasn't of significant concern. And they basically said that they would endorse him if he began experiencing heart problems. So, anyway, a second letter was sent to several corporations wanting a vehicle and running shoes and to cover costs and all that. Ford donated camper fan. Imperial Oil, the the people who want Esso, contributed fuel, and Adidas his running shoes. Fox would turn away any company that requested he endorse their products and refused any donation that carried conditions. Anyhow, so the marathon would begin on April 12th when Fox dipped his right 1980 when he dipped his right leg in the Atlantic Ocean near St. John's and filled 2 large bottles with ocean water. He intended to keep one as a souvenir and pour the other into the Pacific Ocean upon completing his journey in Victoria. Not all would support him, driving the van and cooking meals. Unfortunately, the first few days of his run were terrible. He had gale force winds, heavy rain, and a snowstorm. The reception wasn't good to start with. However, Port aux Basques in Newfoundland had the 10,000 residents give him a donation of $10,000. Unfortunately, he expressed his anger and frustration to those he saw impeding the run and would fight regularly with Allworth. So when they reached Nova Scotia, there were troubles going on. Fortunately, Daryl, who was 17, Fox's brother Daryl would join him as a buffer. Fox left the Maritimes by June 10th and faced new challenges because they were headed to Quebec and they couldn't really speak French, thinking that, it wasn't going to work and all that. Drivers would actually force him off the road. Fox arrived in Montreal by June 22nd, 1/3 of the way through his journey, collecting $200,000 in donations. So, anyway. Fox was convinced by the Canadian Cancer Society to arrive in Ottawa for Canada with aim fundraising efforts. So he stayed in Montreal for a few days. So anyway, Fox crossed into Ontario and a brass band and thousands of residents would cheer him on, and the OPP would give him an escort throughout the province. He would still run 42 kilometers or 26 miles a day, even though summer heat happened. When he arrived in Ottawa, he met the Governor General Ed Schreier, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and was guest of honor at many sporting events. All that. Fox would head to Toronto, meeting 10,000 people in Nathan Phillips Square. He was actually joined by Daryl Sittler, who gave Fox his 1980 All-Star Game jersey. $100,000 in donations were made that day alone, and throughout the ceremony on the first pitch before a game between Toronto and Cleveland. Bobby Orr would give him a check for $25,000. However, Fox's fame grew. The Cancer Society scheduled him to attend more functions and give more speeches. Fox attempted to accommodate any request he believed would raise money. He did not like media intrusions into his personal life and all that. Regardless of that, the physical demands of running a marathon actually did take their toll on Fox's body. He refused to take a day off apart from the rest days in Montreal. He would have shin splints and an inflamed knee. He would have cysts on his stump and experience dizzy spells. So, anyway, he had tendinitis and would have to have painkillers. And was rejecting calls for him to seek regular medical checkups and all that. Now, there was a little bit of controversy. I read the Terry Fox book that they released in 1983 or something. And it said that there were some people who think that Fox running across Canada, it would be null because he literally missed a path that would have got him literally across Canada on a straight line through eastern Quebec and all that. But of course, a lot of people were not too happy with that thing. Unfortunately, by September 1st, he was forced to stop briefly after he had a coughing fit and pain in his chest. He would assume running, but then a few miles later, he asked Haltward to drive him to a hospital. And it was revealed that his cancer actually returned, and worst of all, it spread to his lungs. So after 143 days and over 5,300 kilometers, or 3,339 miles, he had to end his run. There were offers for people to run the rest of the way for him, but he refused. He wanted to complete the marathon himself. Fox had hit $1.7 million, or $6 million in 2023 funds, when he was forced to abandon the marathon. Fortunately, CTV the next week after his marathon ended organized a nationwide telethon. Many celebrities came by, like Elton John, John Denver, Glenn Campbell, and Canadian celebrities too. The 5-hour event raised $10.5 million, or $37 million in today's funds. BC and Ontario would donate $1 million each for that thing. Donations continued through the winter, and by April 1981, he almost got the $24 million he thought, like $1 for every Canadian who was around. So $23 million was raised, $73 million by today's funds. Lots of people would send him mail. He even got more mail than the rest of the town of Port Coquitlam combined. Anyway, he was actually the youngest person to be named to the Order of Canada in September 1980. The Lieutenant Governor of BC named him to the provincial highest honor, the Order of the Dogwood. He won the Top Athlete Award in 1980 and was Newsmaker of the Year in 1980, obviously. In the following months, Fox would have chemotherapy treatments, but unfortunately the disease would keep spreading. As his condition worsened, Canadians hoped for a miracle, and even Pope John Paul II was praying for Fox. Doctors would turn to interferon treatments. He did have an adverse reaction to the first treatment, but after that he was fine. He was readmitted to hospital in New Westminster June 19 19th, 1981, with chest congestion and pneumonia. Unfortunately, he would fall into a coma and passed away 9 days later, June 28th, 1981. Flags across the country were lowered to half-mast, and Trudeau, addressing the House of Commons, would say, "It occurs very rarely in the life of a nation that the courageous spirit of one person unites all people in the celebration of his life and in the mourning of his death. We do not think of him as one who was defeated by misfortune, but as one who inspired us with the example of the triumph of the human spirit over adversity." His funeral was broadcast on national TV in Port Coquitlam. 40 relatives and 200 guests would attend it. Hundreds of communities would actually hold memorial services, even one on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. And Canadians would overwhelm Cancer Society offices with donations. His legacy is gigantic and all that. He was named Canada's greatest hero in a 1999 survey. When CBC did the Greatest Canadian show in 2004, he was actually second, only to Tommy Douglas. But Tommy Douglas did introduce Medicare, so can't hate on that. It was just amazing. He was an ordinary person attempting a remarkable feat. All that. So, anyway. Anyway, there were a lot of views on his disability. Fox himself refused to be recognized as disabled and would not allow anyone to pity him. He found life more rewarding and challenging since he lost his leg. And basically, his feat had the inclusion of disabled people in society. Not as well documented today, but not 100% today, but very good and all that. It increased the visibility of people with disabilities and all that. There was a massive narrative and all that. Of course, the Terry Fox run started nationally September 13th, 1981, and every year it has happened. And 60 countries honor him. 6-0. Anyway, it would be huge and all that. Betty Fox was actually one of 8 people to carry the Olympic flag into BC Place Stadium for the 2010 opening ceremonies in Vancouver. He was in a movie. It was in a movie called The Terry Fox Story in 1983, produced by HBO. It was a TV movie in the US, but in Canada it was a theatrical run. Eric Fryer, who was an amputee, would be Terry Fox. Robert Duvall would also be in this one too. And this was the first film made for paid television. It was nominated for 8 Genie Awards, or what we call Canada's answer to the Oscars. Well, it won 5. So, anyway, CTV would actually do a movie called Terry, focused on the Marathon of Hope in 2005. However, Fox's actor was not an amputee. Digital editing was used to superimpose a prosthetic over his real leg. Fortunately, though, Fox's family did endorse the film, and in 2010, Steve Nash would direct a documentary called Into the Wind about Terry Fox, which was one of the first 30 for 30s that ESPN broadcast. And Fox actually inspired 2 people to try to do journeys. Steve Fonyo, an 18-year-old with the same form of cancer and also had a leg amputated, decided in 1984 to duplicate Fox's runs and all that. Fonyo would do what Fox didn't do and cross Canada. He left St. John's March 31st, 1984 and arrived in BC May 1985. Of course, Fonyo would have some honors stripped because of his illegal activities. Rick Hansen, the guy who recruited Fox to play on his wheelchair basketball team in 1977, was inspired. He actually began the Man in Motion World Tour in 1985 to ride his wheelchair across many countries. He did a world tour for 2 years. And after 792 days and 40,000 plus kilometers, he finally did it. But yeah, Terry Fox is an icon for all of Canada. And you can take that to the bank. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do